Hello everyone and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. In the comments to a recent video, somebody asked about multiplayer and that got me wondering whether we could meet up in Flight Sim 2024 as we did in Flight Sim 2020 with other people. And so I tried that out with Clueless God 97 during a recent live stream, and thankfully Clueless God 97 clued me in as to one little change I had to make. The multiplayer has to be set to all players when you're not actually live, and I wasn't flying in real time. I had to change it to daylight in the local location when it was actually night in the local location. So if you do want to change the time, you have to set it to all players to find other people. And also, of course, in the settings, make sure multiplayer is on. And if you're trying to find somebody, you should probably have like traffic nameplates or something. But you can also potentially coordinate and see them on the map. But there's Clueless God over there. So Clueless God did the rendezvous, so I didn't turn on any sort of name tags because I wanted a clear scene. Clueless God did all the hard work. But yes, you can rendezvous with somebody in Flight Sim 2024, just like you did in Flight Sim 2020, but I wanted to test a little bit more than that. In particular, I wanted to see whether we would be able to see each other when we got out of our planes, you know, in our avatar bodies inside the game, and do other things potentially after that. So, I needed to land at Addis Ababa inside the cockpit. Can still see Clueless God over there in the F-18. Clueless God couldn't see me as an F-35, mind you, because Clueless God doesn't have the F-35. So Clueless God saw me as an Airbus A320, unfortunately, but that's just how it is, because if you don't have the model, how are you going to see it? There was an airliner in my way as I tried to land the F-35. I was very short on fuel, so I didn't want to do a vertical landing of any kind. It was just safer to do a horizontal landing. And here we are at Addis Ababa Airport in Ethiopia, actually Bola International, HAAB, and I parked and Clueless God parked next to me, and in fact there is Clueless God 97's avatar. I trust that that is how he looks. I mean, the avatar that Clueless God picked. Clueless God did not indicate that he was looking any different, nor did he say that I was looking any different than my standard in-game avatar. So that should be working out well, but I want to test one more thing, and that's whether I could steal Clueless God's plane. Now I do have the F-A-18, but can I actually co-opt this F-A-18? Now generally you actually go through planes when you're walking around, but when I pressed Shift-C, which is how you normally get into the cockpit, I jumped to my plane. So I don't think you can actually be a pirate and take somebody else's plane. That's a little bit tentative, but I think that's not the case. And also, because generally when I've tried to walk into planes, I've just walked through them, though that might depend on the plane. I don't think that you can stow away on board a plane, like in the C-17 or anything like that. So, tentatively speaking, I don't think you can do that. Though, maybe they should make that possible so that we could potentially, like, roleplay rescuing people, actual players, which would be great, but I don't know if that's possible or not. Anyway, I was taking a look at some sites at Addis Ababa, but one of the limitations is I have the scenery, but Clueless God did not. So Clueless God would not be able to see these buildings because they're modded buildings. That was the Nani building, and we have this Clueless God could see, potentially, if he had the right graphic settings. And I'm approaching the Victory Monument in Addis Ababa in Meyazia 27 Square, and it's called Arat Kilo. It is commemorating the victory over Italy in the Italian-Ethiopian War, which is part of World War II. So that was that stele there in the middle of that square. And those were things that I have a mod for that adds to the game, but I don't think is generally part of the game. So it's just important to note that depending on the mods people have, that will affect what people see in multiplayer and whether they can coordinate with each other. Another thing I was curious about was whether we would be able to see the same animal patches in multiplayer, as we get some of those strange lines that pop up there. I think it's related to the power lines, but I'm not sure. You can see that weird artifact that happens. Anyway, the F-35 is great because you can go really slow and even get down to seeing animals potentially. But Clueless God reported some animals in this vicinity here, some cows, and I couldn't see them, but that might be just because my monitor is sort of smallish and I don't have enough pixels, or my eyesight's just that bad. I'll try and hover around here, show you the location, maybe you guys can spot them. But yeah, maybe it was just my location might have been a little bit off from where Clueless God had been intending, or maybe it's just my eyesight. You can see Clueless God on the map there, flying around the general vicinity, and occasionally pausing. The icon for the airplane will pause whenever he has the menu open, so you'll see that as well. So for me, the animal question is still a little bit open, but Clueless God had talked about doing coordinated flights with other people and seeing animals together before, I think. So presumably that's possible, but I'll need to verify that. I decided to try and land at an airport that Clueless God had suggested, found on the map. It's really hard to find stuff on the map. They really need those icons to show up a little bit better from a longer range. But anyway, I didn't really see the airport indicated, so I decided to go for a field that ought to have been an airport right here. I mean, it's got a long line there that would just be a perfect runway. Not that I landed on it. But yeah, I decided that this would be a good place to stop and land with my F-35, but of course Clueless God and the F-A-18 cannot do this. So Clueless God will have to find some other airport to use. But yeah, I've got a long flight ahead of me down the Rift Valley in Africa, trying to look for animals and looking at other sites. I have some mods in the Rift Valley that add airports and stuff like that, airfields. So I want to check those out in Flight Sim 2024. By default, Flight Sim 2024 doesn't add particular sites to Africa, so hopefully the mods will still work. Anyway, with that, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time.